Welcome back to another episode of the Red Man Café, the podcast where we interview members of the invasion community. We are in season 2 and is the PC Chronicles, and I'm joined today by an annoying hoser, a orthopedic surgeon that only focuses on the mouth. Give it up for Dr. Lupine Osserary. Welcome in.
Hello, everyone.
So, for those folks that don't know you, what are you known for in the community for?
I guess being the salty DS3 baby and the ER defender, the Elden Ring White Knight.
That doesn't really narrow it down all that much. Like, you could be being Saint Riot right now, you could be Pincognito. What sets you apart?
I think just maybe my playstyle in Dark Souls 3 Invasions, that was kind of like what I started streaming on, what I kind of built everything on. Just playing in like a goofy, for fun playstyle, just going for the dumbest, most unoptimal setups and strategies possible, and just having fun with it generally.
Doesn't really narrow it down. We've already had to eat tomato on this. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I like the challenge run as much as I like the PvP, so I do a little bit of both. Currently, I'm doing an Elden Ring challenge run where I'm doing rune level 1, unupgraded Zweihander only, naked, with just talismans allowed. So I kind of like a balance of PvE. I like the PvE, the challenge runs, as much as I like the PvP.
Okay, let me just
I'm a very balanced player.
put you down in the masochistic Elden Ring defender box. Okay. You're right up there with Majin Sweet and Blueberry Brioche. Okay. Gotcha. How did you get into Souls? And I suppose by definition, FromSoft.
Hmm. I was gonna say, do we want the long version or the short version? But I guess this is a podcast, so might as well do the long version, right?
Hmm.
I think I first touched Dark Souls 3 when I was big into Melee at the time, but I think it was 2017. Hated it. I didn't know what I didn't know what was going on at all. It was basically I didn't understand how the stats worked, so I was with the full Artorias set with an Astora Greatsword at 45 dex, but raw infused. So I didn't actually finish the game. But
Hang
then
on, hang on. You took away the one thing that made a store great sword good, and you went for raw infusion. Did
it's
you
because
buff it?
no. So I think I found out about Dark Souls 3 because I saw Happy Hobbs Dark Souls 1 no hit run, the world's first one. That was the first video he did. And I was like, wow, this Dark Souls stuff looks kind of cool. So then I saw him doing Dark Souls 3 no hit runs, and he was just using the raw infusion. So I was like, I'll do that. That seems good. And I didn't know how stats work, so I couldn't finish the game. But one of my IRL friends, Arcane, uh, he showed me Bloodborne, and I loved Bloodborne. It was way more simple. The stats were like super streamlined, very straightforward. Lacked some build variety, but like it was just way better, like and just more simple for me to like learn.
And right now we're putting down
Yeah.
the helpline, so anybody that is currently, uh, well, misplaced because of his comment about Bloodborne creativity, there's a number on the screen right now flashing across. You can call that number and you can put in your complaints directly to the Canadian Embassy of Bloodborne Defense.
Yeah, come
Continue.
at me. Here's my real address and phone number. Lodge your complaints right here. Yeah, so I like Bloodborne a lot, and I was at a point in my life in university where I would just come home after school, and I would sit down and just crush an entire playthrough of Bloodborne like in a sitting, and I was beating Bloodborne like multiple times a week, and so that's kind of how I started challenge running because I needed like a little bit something extra. So, and that's when I started my Twitch stream. I was looking for a solution to store for free large VODs, basically, just large amounts of video. And I found out if you stream, you could just turn on VODs and it'll just save it for you. So I wanted to record my challenge runs. So basically, my streaming career started out with me just sitting on the couch playing Bloodborne with no mic while my buddy Arcane watched from across town as I'm trying to do deathless runs, all bosses of Bloodborne. And then when I eventually got it, I didn't even have it for the recording set, so I never even got the footage for that.
You use Twitch as a storage locker. That is. Why didn't you just use a Google Doc?
I was like, it's free cloud storage. Like, what am I gonna do? So that's why I started Twitch.
Mm.
But yeah,
I unfortunately have to say that I've lost a lot of my Redman Cafe season 1 through Twitch because I'm like, oh, I can save the VODs on Twitch. They'll be there. 6
Oh, I
months
hope
later go
not.
by. Oh, I wonder where they went. Oh,
Oh, that's a heartbreaker.
yeah, it is. And I'm Prime too, so it's like, I should be able to have them, but I don't. So thanks, Twitch.
That's a minor gripe I have about Twitch is just they just ghost delete like entire VODs and clips. And that's why I started actually splitting my audio because I would have these clips that are like I cherished like near and dear to my heart. And one day they were just be gone, like just deleted. And I can only assume it was because of the background music. Because since I have filtered the music out of my stream, they're no longer getting deleted and stuff. So I don't know. But yeah, it sucks. I feel that pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the time I wasn't like I had no involvement with the community at all. But I think around that time, my friend saw that I was liking Bloodborne. He wanted me to play DS3 as well because he liked Dark Souls 3 Invasions. And I was like, I don't know. I don't like Dark Souls. I like Bloodborne. I don't like Dark Souls. But he showed me a bunch of Saint Riot videos because what we would do is he would invade and we just hang out and have some beers, and we would watch some Saint Riot videos. And so like I've said this before, but like I didn't watch Saint Riot because I liked invading. I started invading because I liked watching Saint Riot videos, like the old classics, like Irithyll Border Patrol and like Dungeon Master and Irithyll Dungeon and all that stuff. Black Knight, Great Sword, Big Sweaty Poise Boys, all that stuff. It was so funny. So that's how I got started doing DS3 invasions, and then yeah, so we would hang out once in a while, and we would just both like trade the controller, playing PlayStation 4 invasions, just having some beers, great times. So then I started streaming that on Twitch too, and my first ever viewer was the Grim Sleeper.
Uh,
He was the first person to check me out, and he's like, yo, 1v1s, let's go. And I said, I know who you are. And yes, because like that's how you get better, right? Is playing better players and you learn. And I remember he beat me. He like moveset swapped a Corvian dagger onto a Sora Greatsword. I was like, bro, what is that? And he's like, yeah, it's like tech. It's not even hard. And, come back and face me again. Like once you get better, I'm like, that's pretty cool. I was at the mindset of like I really like tech because I was grinding melee every day at the time, right?
yeah.
So like all I would do was practice wave dashing and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, that's very cool. And the funny story to that too is years later, I ended up in a casual fight club with him, and I actually like totally just casual, just for fun. And I took a couple games off him, so I was really proud of that. Kind of came full circle. But that's how I got started doing streaming invasions, and then I just loved it. Like it was so much fun making builds.
That is honestly a really interesting take because Grim is from the uh, I'm just gonna put safely the far end of Twitch, and he isn't exactly as mainstream. So you got introduced to it through Bloodborne, streaming for a friend. Then
Yeah,
you got Saint Riot, and then you got Grim Sleeper. So you've come
yeah.
kind of around the world of the community.
I got around pretty quickly, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun. I remember my first Invader build because I'd watched so much Saint Riot. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try and do a Dark Souls 3 build. Like, I'm gonna make a PvP build. Because what had happened was my IRL friend was like, we can just make a build right now, and like we can try invasions. Because I got invaded when I was playing DS3 for the first time. We did it like a couch co-op thing,
Yeah.
and then I got invaded. I'm like, what's happening? Because I didn't even know PvP was in the game. And he said, bro, there's another player that just invaded you. Like, you have to kill him or he's going to kill you. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I beat him. It was just like a noob invader, and I smoked him with R1 straight sword spam. I was like, that was awesome. I love this. So watch some more Saint Riot videos. We made a build in like 3 hours where we did a high wall twink invader with Dark Hand.
Oh, you were one of those. I see.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I
of
mean, what
course,
happened? So 2 months later, you were in Swamp, and then 3 months after that, you were hosting at Postponif, and you
yeah,
became
the
a bonfire
pipeline,
duelist
beware the pipeline.
over at Ring City, and then afterwards, you were one of those arena people. Okay, I understand this type now.
You know
Okay,
where this story's going.
yeah. So, as you said, you got into Bloodborne because you were playing it like every other day doing challenge runs, and then you got into the PvP as an afterthought. But what encouraged you to start streaming and making content on YouTube?
Um, the YouTube, I guess, is quite recent actually compared to all the Twitch stuff because I think I was streaming Twitch like late 2018. I remember a lot of my first viewers too. Like, it was just really fun. Oh, the reason I wanted to grow in on the Twitch was because as I was invading, naturally you go and you look for creators around the game that you want to prove at. Because I'm a pretty competitive person. I like to just like go hard on one game at a time, get really good at it, and then eventually I just like move on sometimes to another game. So I was getting really involved in like the community, like watching Saint Riot, and then he's talking about. I think the next person I watched was Skitter the Tryhard, and then you see Ghost Hardware and Pinko was doing YouTube at the time, and those videos were great. I am Amish was doing the what you call it, where he would take invasion clip submissions and commentate them.
Mhm.
I still have it. I submitted him some footage of my invasions. I did a Vow of Silence build, an SL90 Faith build, and I got roasted because my build I was using. They're like, "Why are you using an offhand Lothric Knight shield? Like you didn't even use it in the invasion. That's so much wasted weight. Like why are you using this chime? This chime is more efficient." But so like I was getting more involved in the community and like seeing all these people, and I kind of wanted I wanted a little bit of like notoriety, you know. I wanted people to like know who I was in that space because a lot of the Twitch streams you go into, like I was watching a lot of Revion at the time too. It kind of seems from an outsider's perspective like a little bit insular, right? Like it's all these people that know each other, have known each other for a long time, and so I kind of wanted to get my foot in the door that way,
It's
and I
very
eventually did.
exclusive, yeah.
It
Yeah.
seems like that from the outside, but like that's why I try and tell people nowadays, like to get involved with the Twitch PvP community because it's actually so chill. Like I love it. It's the best video game community I've been a part of. You know, as as problematic as a lot of people will say that it is, like with any game community, I think it's pretty fantastic.
It really is. But going into what you do with your videos, you tend to do you start off with like a hot take, or you go into like an in-depth analysis of the game and how it's presented to a player, and you're able to kind of create your content that's kind of a lovely juxtapose of like these clickbaity things that YouTubers always put out, like Bloodborne is an underrated masterpiece. Why X game is worse than this. It definitely feels like a breath of fresh air. So what kind of encouraged that level of content, or is that just something that you see in the game and it's just like you want to share?
Yeah, like I've done videos like that that are counter to like yeah, like that meme tier of what are those videos called? Like Elden Ring is it's a flawed masterpiece, it's a brutal masterpiece, it's a terrible, unenjoyable, unplayable masterpiece, like those like video essays. I don't know. I feel like because when I was at that point where I was only playing Bloodborne, because I'm like, I like Bloodborne, all of Dark Souls sucks. I was watching a lot of those videos at the time, and people would just like show clips of Pontiff Sullivan and be like, look, he's just unfair. It's random. You're gonna die. This game is really hard. You're gonna die so many times, and it's not fair all the time. And you know, like they portray it as this game that's like like this big gamer pilgrimage where if like you beat the game, like you're like one of the best gamers. And the entire time I'm sitting there like, this sounds like nothing I want to play. Like I don't want to just like die, you know, hundreds and hundreds of times. That doesn't sound like fun at all. And then you actually play the games and it's not that bad. Like it's if you have a brain, you can understand how the stats work. Like I didn't. Like you can figure it out. The game respects your intelligence as a player and as a human being to be able to like, you know, persevere and beat it. Like it's a truly challenging game. So I felt like that I had been like betrayed. Like I had been this game had been like kept away from me cuz like it was always described to me as like these unenjoyable super hard games. When in fact I think everyone should give it a try. So I make videos like that where it's like trying to attack that perspective because even on some of my videos I had people commenting the exact same story where they're like there was one guy on one of my videos he said I am so upset with the Souls community that for years I never touched these games because all I heard was like all this untrue stuff about how hard it is, how unfair it is, how brutal it is. And then he played Elden Ring and he loved it. And he went back and within 2 months he beat Demon Souls, the Dark Souls 3 trilogy, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. and he's like, "These are my favorite games now. Like I love it." And he was so upset with like all the like basically the discourse that's around these games, kind of in the broader like gaming community. And so I kind of hate the reputation that they have in a way. So that's why I kind of make videos like that, where it's like, and that's also why I do like challenge runs and stuff like that. Like I only play the game very infrequently. I work 5 to 6 days a week, so I play games like at most once a week. And it's like, if I can do this, like if I can beat what's something I did recently, if I can beat Radon at rune level 1+0 with nothing but his Y-hander, like anyone can do this. Like you can do it. It's not that bad. You know, if you just try a little bit, it's not that bad. So that's what I like to do, is like encourage people to give it a shot and challenge themselves.
And it's honestly admirable to see that because a lot of times you go into a PvP stream and it's like, oh, somebody please help me here. It's like, well, we want to help you, but we also want you to help yourself. What's more
Right.
rewarding at the end of the day? Getting carried by, and I'm going to use Ghost Hardware terminology, Bubba to go beat Fire Giant, or after 3 hours of failed attempts, finally landing it, and then something starts clicking. Oh, big boss, I gotta watch his feet. I can't really be locked onto him. I gotta focus and work on just what to expect. I see him doing
Mhm.
fireball at me. It could be one or two. If he goes into phase two, he throws two of them at me. What do I do with that? And a lot of people kind of take the path of least resistance. If
Absolutely.
you host, for example, at mid level in Elden Ring, 90% of players that you will fight will be either using one of two setups. What do you think those are? And when I say mid level, I say anywhere from level 45 to level 60.
You're a mage, Comet Shard, or Moonveil?
Not quite.
Hmm.
Think more melee.
Power stance, curve swords.
No, no, no. This is like Kevin. This is Kevin playing through, taking the
Hmm.
path of least
Oh,
resistance.
great shield.
Oh, not quite hitting the nail on the head. I'll give it to you. They're either using a blood
I don't. I
uchi.
want my 50-50.
Okay,
Where's my call a friend?
okay. I'll tell you what the first one is. Bloody slash blood
Mm,
uchikatana. What do you think the
I
second one
should
is?
know. Double like power stance. What's that bleed twin blade? I see that a lot.
Eleonora? No, no, this is
Yes.
Kevin. He's just going through the game the first time. He
Mm,
does not have Bubba. He's going for the path of least resistance.
maybe using the starter halberd and shield.
Lupine, you're doing me dirty here. He's
I know. I'm
using
looking
the
like a fool right
Bloodhound
now.
Fang, and he's only doing the first part of the Ash of War.
Oh.
He doesn't know it has a second part.
Yeah. Oh, right. Blood. I literally just found this guy's YouTube channel last night where he was doing, unironically, max level Elden Ring PvP on a character. He had one character with 400 hours, and he was one-shotting people with the Bloodhound Fang weapon art. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I was like leaving him encouraging comments. But yeah, I can't believe I didn't think of that. I was literally watching this like last night.
Because
Yeah, the Bloodhound Fang is definitely like the Irithyll straight sword of this game.
it's I wouldn't even say it's the Irithyll straight sword. I would say for a lot of players just going through the first time, they treat it almost like the Black Knight Halberd. And I know, really, really hot take, Black Knight Halberd is the RL1 method. But like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of players will go rush that Black Knight Halberd because it's something they can easily upgrade. And
True.
once you hit the stat requirements for it, it hits like a truck. For early and mid game, Bloodhound Fang hits like a truck. And you can get up
Yes.
to +2 without even going into Stormveil for it. And then once you get to EG, you can get it to +4. And then afterwards, you have access to put buffs on it. So Bloodflame Blade is what a lot of people really enjoy on it. And that leads to the IGN build.
Yeah.
What are your
It's just,
thoughts on the meta IGN build?
oh god. I mean, you're free to build however you want. It's okay, I guess. But like, it's funny. Like, you can't blame me for poking fun at people that have like like cookie cutter builds, right? Like, that's why you have like Bubba's and Kevin's, right? Because you can see them a mile away. It's like in Dark Souls where you could tell where there's like a co-op squad where the phantom is just running you down and just like trying to kill you, and you just body them, and the host is just sitting at the bonfire and he never lets go of his L1 on Great Shield. You can tell it's just like the phantom, got Dark Souls 3 for his friend for Christmas on Steam sale and is like, yeah, let's play DS3. It'll be so fun. Like, I trust me, bro. We'll co-op. It'll be so good. And then the Phantom just beats the entire game for them and drags them all around Lothric, and they never actually learn how to play the game. Like, they don't even know what's going on. You can kind of see hosts like that a mile away.
Yeah, and then
But
the moment
yeah,
Bubba goes down to the Pond of Knights in Central Irophil, off
yeah,
to the
malaria
bonfire,
riding.
and then they try and run back onto the bridge, the same one that Bubba told them we're gonna run past this bridge, and they end up having crocodog.
The dog spawn, yeah.
Yeah.
Classic. Like, it's what I mean. You see it. You play DS3 Invasions enough, and you see these interactions, and Elden Ring Invasions, or any game really. You see it happen dozens of times.
Do
It
you
becomes
think
a trope.
Elden Ring needs a little bit more of a hands-on approach to teach players about different mechanics, or do you think it's fine?
I don't know. It kind of depends. I get into this argument with Sleep and Enda a lot because they're of the mindset of like there should be a lot more. Yeah, like it should be made more obvious. There should be a lot more help for a player to like understand mechanics like that. For example, like a visual indication of when hyper armor frames are active on a weapon, just like a really subtle effect, so they could literally like see that. I get that. I'm of the mindset where it's fine, I guess, because I don't want like people want the posture bar, for example, in Elden Ring. I don't think it's super crucial, and my concern is that they would have too many HUD elements. Like add too much stuff.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be playing what is it, Assassin's Creed when, the HUD
Yeah,
takes over 40% of the screen.
yeah, exactly. It just
I
looks
can't
like
even
I
see
don't know,
these
like a
new
slot machine.
graphics. Yeah, I can't even see
Oh,
these new graphics.
it's horrible because like Dark Souls, say what you will about like how much information they withhold, but like it has a certain aesthetic that they go for. Like anywhere you go in a Souls game, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, it doesn't matter, everything looks like a vista. Like everywhere you go is like a painting, like it's handcrafted. Every like view that you have, like they're really good about the way they design worlds in that sense. So having less clutter on screen really helps that for like its visual direction. But yeah, I see what people mean. Like,
Mhm.
there's just so much stuff that's unintuitive, and that's I think why I fell in love in DS3 in the first place too, is because there was so much depth and so much to learn.
Yeah,
But
but
like, I'm
also
still learning stuff to this day. Like, there's
just
so much
while we're
obscurity.
talking about the HUD, in comparison, if you compare the DS3 HUD to the Elden Ring one, you notice like
Hmm.
the weapon slots are
Hmm.
way bigger in DS3, and you could
Oh yeah,
just visually see stuff.
definitely.
Do you think Dark Souls 3 had that system a bit better because the game was a lot smaller? Or is it like, it's neither here nor there?
I think it's neither here nor there. I'm a
Okay.
I'm a kind of a go with the flow kind of guy when it comes to little things like that.
Okay. Now, before that, you were talking about you were learning new stuff in DS3, so by all means.
Yeah, just like having conversations with Sleep about like how the nitty gritty mechanics work. Like you'll just be playing Dark Souls 3, and then like you're introduced to this concept of like priority out of hit stun and stuff like that, or like starting to understand how latency works in this game so that you can like get better at backstab fishing, and like there's just so much like, and then you start going into all the glitches like moveset swapping and like, but even ignoring the glitches, like all the base mechanics in the game, like all the underlying mechanics that are very obscure that the game operates on, it's just there's so much and none of it is really explained or obvious. Like how is a new player, for example, supposed to like look at the stat screen and know what poise does? Like how do they understand how that works, right? Like should the game explain poise like in a tutorial somehow, or like maybe like Sleep and Ender were onto something with the visual indicator? Like if you knew when you were swinging your weapon while you have poise, you might, pick up on that, make that mental connection, like, oh, I didn't get interrupted while that visual indicator was on screen. Yeah,
Okay,
I
now
feel, yeah.
this is a bit of a hot take. So in Dark Souls 1, they kind of taught you those types of lessons by experience, and it doesn't
Mhm.
really hit all that well in the other Souls games. So let's say you're an Undead Burg. Okay, all these enemies have pretty light armor. You're going through, you see this big black hulking knight. Okay, I'm gonna go hit him. Wait, it didn't stun him. He's swinging at me. What do I do? And most players will be like, "Oh, you just parry," but Kevin doesn't know. He's like, "Okay,
Just parry.
I've been hitting him with my club, and it's not doing anything."
Mhm.
Maybe I need a bigger weapon. Maybe I need to be more beefy. But by the time they put two and two together, they're getting two shot because Black Knight go burr. And
Yeah.
then if they continue through that
Undoubtedly.
level, and maybe they start off with the Master Key, they go into the basement and they run into the Havel Knight, or maybe even Havel. It's still
The
heavily
first
debated.
boss.
Yeah, the first actual boss, and it's like, okay, I hit this guy and I can't do anything, and oh, I'm dead. Splat. So what do I do? So most players will be like, okay, I can try backstabbing him. Maybe I can try coming back later. But the game kind of does a whole thing of show, don't tell, which I kind of like. Because in that
Mhm.
regard, that's where the message system comes into play. That really made Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1 work, even though it's like, oh, treasure ahead, here I go. I'm going to be rich.
Doo-doo-doo. Yeah. We're gonna be rich, boys.
But I love on how it's like other players leaving you dismembered messages that could be like, okay, try range approach. So it's like, okay, I don't know really what I'm doing. Let's see what those who have come before me have told me to do. And it gives almost like a choose your own adventure thing whenever you put down a message. Like, do I want to help somebody with this section? Or do I remember struggling and I want to hear more about those struggling? I want to go on Reddit later and be like, how to beat have a monster and just go have a chuckle.
Feel the hate flow through you.
Yes. Do you think uh, Elden
No.
Ring has that whole show don't tell system, or as you said
Yes.
before, do you think like it needs something more to make up for it?
No, I think Elden Ring, I think its biggest achievement is how simultaneously it can be their hardest game they've ever made, but like it's also their most accessible. So I feel like most people can easily get by in Elden Ring without having to know all the nitty-gritty obscure mechanics. I think it's fine for the average player. They'll live their lives not knowing like all these systems exist, and that's fine. They won't learn how to do proper spacing. That's okay.
Hmm.
But like yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's like a big thing. The show don't tell mentality, right? Like it is a core philosophy that they do. And I think that's why like a lot of people seem to forget, I think, of like why Dark Souls 1 was such a refreshing like it was a breath of fresh air, right? It was a game that came along, it didn't explain everything to you. It didn't give you these long tutorials. It respected your intelligence as a human being, your will to overcome, and like it gives you the tools and like you can figure it out, like you got this. That was the nice thing about it. It didn't explain everything. It was very unapologetic, and I think that's like one of the best things about these games. Like it doesn't have to explain everything. It's there if you want to learn it. uh yeah.
I think unapologetic is like the best definition for it. It will
Mhm.
not say, I'm sorry for kicking your head in. No, it tells you, get back on your feet, go beat my
Yep.
head in.
Exactly. And like that's the thing with my theory is that like yes, there are some things where it would be nice if they would just like release poise modifiers so we wouldn't have to test that, and like the community has to spend like countless hours like testing this kind of stuff. But on the other hand, I don't know, like I don't really think like that stuff needs to be out in the open either. Like you can play the game just fine. It's where I'll just live my life. It's all hunky dory. It's nice that it's there, but I don't need it to enjoy the game.
Well put. Now, before we go on break, a word from our sponsor. I'm the sponsor. We have a big charity event upcoming on February 25th at
Let's
Mid Level,
go.
and two tournaments that are also being held at Meta. For more details, you can go take a look at my Twitter feed. There is also going to be a link in the description to a video by Rust Bucket that explains most of the events. And yeah, everybody is free to take part. Lost by Sanity, say Riot, Pincognito, Ghost Hardware.
Mr.
Most of the big
Pro.
streamers are going to be taking part of this event, and I hope that you people can join me too. So we are going on break, and a 3 and a 2 and a 1, and we are back from our break. I believe we're talking about uh
Obscurity in Dark Souls.
sure, let's go for Obscurity and Dark Souls for 400s, Alex. So tell me about Obscurity and Dark Souls, Dr.
Ooh.
Lupine.
Daily double.
Okay. So for your daily
um
double question, where is the first time you can get a dark hand? 1.
oh.
High Wall of Lothric. 2.
Hmm.
Undead Settlement. 3.
What
Barren Swamp. Or
what is Fair and
4.
Swamp?
Eh, wrong. first time you can get a dark hand is dun, 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 dun,
I don't even
I will
remember.
Lothric.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, it's in the right, right.
it
It's
can
we have to
drop
fight the
from
boss.
the dark wraith. It has a very
Right.
tiny drop, but I got it before on stream, and it's like, okay, it is possible.
That's some good luck. Did you buy a lottery ticket?
Uh, Streamer RNG does not equate to IRL luck.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was talking about. I guess we were talking about obscurity in the mechanics, but like, there's obscurity in every aspect of the games. Like in the lore, obviously. So you have channels like VaatiVidya existing, but also like, oh my god, I just lose my train of thought again. In the narrative, in holy shit, might have to do a retake on this one.
oh, there's our first F-bomb slash profanity of the
Oh,
stream.
we can still get the PG-13 rating. That's our one.
I think they're allowed to do 3 these days. Like I remember
Really?
Free Guy, which was this movie by Ryan Reynolds about like the video game
Oh my
guy who
god,
stuck.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's like, but there was like 5 F-bombs that dropped in that, and it still got the PG-13 rating.
Damn, good for them. Oh, I
Yeah,
remembered. So like in Demon Souls, they basically I remember an interview where Miyazaki said that they made that game to be like an ode to hard games like from the Sega Genesis era and like how obscure those games are. I don't know if you ever played any like Genesis games or like NES games growing up,
I
but
did.
they
Yeah,
were ridiculous. I don't know if I've ever beaten a single game from that era when I was a kid because they were just impossible as a kid. They were
you,
so obscure. It
this
was like
this
it was to
podcast
stretch out the game.
ain't about
Mhm.
me. However, there is one thing that beats all those SNESs. One
Mhm.
of the first games my mom got me when I was young was
Mhm.
Spyro
Oh,
Year of the Dragon. Now I know what you're thinking. It
love
was the
Spyro.
pirated version of, which means every now and then you'd lose
Yes.
progress, the game would get harder, and when you finally make it to the final boss, your save gets reverted back
Yeah.
to 0.
It would like corrupt your own save.
Yeah, that was my childhood.
That game has one of the funniest anti-piracy measures of all time.
Yeah, the sad thing is it only lasted like 4 months afterwards before people found ways to get past that. But in those 4 months, Little Dash wanted a new Spyro game, and what's Ma to do? Times were
Get that
tough.
credit card.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go to your local game store. It wasn't EB Games back then. It was just
I
like
would
that.
like to find a copy of Spyro.
Yeah. Oh, those were trippy days.
Yeah, but like those were the days where like I didn't have internet growing up until I almost graduated high school because I was so rural, and like people would show up at the playground with like cheat codes that they would print off online, and they would say stuff like, "Dude, like lizards in Street Fighter and stuff like there's this secret character," and you're like, "No, bro, that's a myth." And they're like, "He's not a myth. I've seen him. It's true." Like no one knew, right?
Mhm.
The games were very obscure. So I think that like with the obscurity in the lore, but also the obscurity in quest lines, right? Like how is any person reasonably without like a wiki supposed to do any quest lines in these games? Like that would be insanity. You would have to like comb every single corner of the map.
Guilty.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever done a single quest. I think I've progressed Millicent's quest line about halfway on my own, and that's the best I've ever done. So like there's
I
there's a lot of this
have
obscurity.
86 pages of notes for my first 12 playthroughs of Elden Ring that I occasionally skim through because I will not go look at Fextra. No, thank you.
That's fair enough.
And if anybody ever wants those notes, if anybody has a question, they can consult the Dash Wiki
You don't want to help
24/7.
Extra Viewbot?
Well, it's not that. It's
Have
just
like three tabs open?
Oh yeah, I definitely want to be a part of that system. Let's see. Will Fextra tell me about like oh, what was one of those Fextra links that was always like super wrong with information?
Oh, all my builds were wrong. I would use the poise values on Fextra Life and like parry frames and stuff. And I'd be like, I don't understand. I'm supposed to be able to tank this with like a DSSS, the Dragon Slayer Sword Spear. And people just told me, oh yeah, all that stuff on Fextra Life is just wrong. Like what? They're like, yeah, they sent me like Excel spreadsheets of like actual poise values. Like all the stuff on Fextra is just wrong.
Yeah,
I'm like, what?
we the reason why we are Dark Souls and Elden Ring elitists is because we don't make it public knowledge because Extra ain't paying us.
Yeah,
So
exactly. What are we gonna do? Yeah, they're view botting off of us, and we're submitting. Like the thing about Fextra is they just profit off of people actually putting in the time and testing and posting it there and
yeah.
editing their wiki basically.
Now you see, we were smart. So when Stowe came up with a spreadsheet to redistribute all the poise thresholds on armor, I sent that straight to Bandai, and you know what happened? 1.07. What was 1.07? Poise patch. Don't thank me, thank Stochastic. Because we sent it to the
Coincidence? I
right
think
in.
not.
We sent the info to the right people, and they fixed it. Well, I
Exactly.
won't say
Just go to the
fixed, but
source.
they adjusted it, yeah. And
Just go to the
even like
source.
when 1.08 came out, we had like two really big problems, both of which I like did support tickets with the next day up because I did a 24-hour stream for the arena day.
That's nuts. I think my
Oh,
record's 13 hours, and that's a lot.
yeah, don't go 24. Like there's
That's
another
insane.
streamer in my neck of the woods that goes by the name Richard Kirby or R Kirby 808. He regularly does like 2 days of streaming and then you won't hear from him for like a month and he comes back and is like,
Oh
"How are you
yeah.
still
Shout out
alive?"
to Kirby's Laboratory.
Yeah.
Does he still do that? Hold on, I'm gonna look right now. I used to love watching. He had a side channel called Kirby's Laboratory where he would post daily invasion clips, and they're really it was great. Just like 2 minute invasions, you get one a day. It's great stuff to just put on in the morning when you're eating breakfast before work. I
Richard is
love
one of
that
those
stuff.
content creators that I don't understand why they haven't made it. Like
Yeah, I don't know.
I help with like the partner push of like several different streamers. Like we recently got Skip to My Nash and Coop to partner, which
Oh,
I'm
great.
excited about.
Coop is very gung ho about content creation. Like they jumped on that TikTok train. Like they know what's up for sure.
Yeah.
They say that there's quite a gap for like informative Elden Ring content, and I agree. I can't find the motivation to step in there personally and get that involved, but I do like making content about Elden Ring.
Yeah,
Just
Souls
I
folks, I
like
see
more
they've mostly
creative.
been just like they look at Elden Ring as like, do I really want to help these people when the most creativity they can come up with is power stance donkeys? Probably not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like going back to the obscurity thing, my working theory is that because they wanted to make these games with that mentality in mind of like this hyper obscurity, but we exist in the internet era now. I think they do that to foster like an online community because you hear them also talk about in interviews how they don't have difficulty options because they want all players to be a part of the same discussion and have like a very similar shared experience. And I think that like part of the obscurity is like, well, people will just look up stuff about games. That's just like a fact of life. And but by doing that, we have people actually discussing the games online, right? I think a bit of that is to foster like an online community for the game.
Yeah, and it's really helped out a lot of the newer streamers of the community. But the problem I see right now is there's not really all that much trickle down effect. So,
Mm.
for those of you who are like new to the streaming world, trickle down effect is essentially big streamers will look for like communities to raid, and they'll raid into them, and then those medium-sized streamers will raid down into smaller streamers. But because there's an oversaturation of people all doing the exact same content, it doesn't really tickle down to like the people trying new stuff that don't really have that audience. So they are stuck, forced to be like very mainstream. You can't have your
Mhm.
Chinese food store, it's all got to be McDonald's every block.
Yeah, that's a problem with like just all forms of content creation. It's not like a Souls problem exclusively. And like if you
Yay.
look at the Twitch statistics, it's crazy. Like the top 1% of streamers are like over like 95% of all the site views or something. Like big streamers definitely pull the views, but that's why it was nice when I got my foot in the door with the Souls community because I fell in love with small streamers. I'd only watched big streamers. I only had a Twitch account at that point to watch League of Legends players that were really good and had no personality. I watched it just to get better at League of Legends and watching the Happy Hog because he was like the funniest guy I ever saw. He was the first streamer I watched because I genuinely liked their personality and thought they were funny. But then when I started watching Saint Riot and stuff and people on Twitch, and then you start realizing that everyone in Twitch chat is like a god, like at PvP in these games. Like everyone plays the game, they're all super good. I kind of fell in love with like the whole small streamer community there. It was just like everyone knows each other, everyone streams. It's kind of great.
Is there any small streamers that come to mind that you want to pimp out right now, or like give a shout out to?
I don't know. It's kind of I there used to be so many, but now it's very different with like who streamed when it went from DS3 to Elden Ring. So many people started streaming Elden Ring, and so many people that I loved watching and hanging out with stopped streaming after DS3. Let me just look at who's actually. You know what? Cat Acid is streaming today. I have not seen them in a year. So Cat Acid's on right now. Like there's Makuda's been streaming a lot of Elden Ring too. Definitely check out Makuda. OG, I think back from Revion's community.
Yeah, he was.
Uh, yeah, I mean, Swede is still on that grind, and that's the other thing too is like streaming and meeting all these people. Like I used to watch Swede, and then I started streaming and like talking with him, and then we ended up doing all these like co-op runs and stuff that would span like half a year and like all this stuff. So it was great meeting everyone. Check out Commander Swede, definitely. He's my boy. And Mook. Mook was actually one of my big. He's still my favorite Dark Souls 3 player. Just in general, his playstyle and his attitude. He still streams fairly frequently. Yeah, definitely check those guys out. And check
Yeah.
out Dashing Sane.
Oh, unfortunately, I'm no longer in the small category. I'm hitting 4K in the
Ooh,
next like 2 months, so that's kind of
nice.
crazy. I,
Nice, yeah.
I still consider myself a small streamer though in the big scale of things, but then I
It's
take a look at
hard.
the people who had like 10,000 when I got started off, and I see Saint Riot now, and he's what at like 23.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy. Watching Saints definitely deserves the growth. He is so charismatic. He has a great attitude. I think if you're starting like getting interested in Souls PvP, 100% check out Saint Riot. If you're more interested in like the try hard, like being more competitively minded, wanting to like grow and like get better at a faster rate, check out Ender the
G9.
Lion for
Oh,
sure.
Enda, yeah, I was
G9
gonna
too.
say
Like
G9.
dude, back in the day, me, might be Bob, and Xantus were G9's only subs. And yeah, catching a G9 stream used to be super rare. It would be out of the blue, and I would just bombard him with questions. And he was just happy to talk about the game and just answer anything. So G9's another person who like really leaned into it finally and blew up.
Yeah, I still mod for G, and honestly, it's nice to be able to just go cut through the masses, answer questions in like such a quick period of time, and then give
Yeah.
G9 space to actually breathe and be able to read chat because it's hard when you've got 500 people chatting at any given time.
Yeah. Yeah. This chat can be tough. Like it's a fast chat.
Yeah, I don't even
Yeah,
get paid
definitely.
for it. G9, if you're watching this, throwing Dash a little coffee while he's out of work right now, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we're gonna end up with just 5 quick questions for you.
Sure.
So number one, which of the FromSoft games is your favorite?
Sekiro.
Okay,
I still say Sekiro. Elden Ring, I have to give it some more time in the oven. But as Sekiro, I didn't realize that it was my favorite until maybe a couple years after, like of playing it and challenge running it. And just one day I realized that, yeah, I like this more than Bloodborne. I appreciate there's less jank and it's just a gorgeous game. I love it.
good answer. Second question, what are your plans for the rest of 2023?
My plans for 2023, well, I want to keep doing the YouTube grind. It's kind of hard to keep like, man, making consistent YouTube videos is so tough. But like I just finished my AI art Elden Ring video, which took a lot of time. It was really fun. But like yeah, keeping up on the YouTube. I still plan to stream once a week for sure. And I just bought a bunch of microphones and shit like that. I'm going to actually Minneapolis. I'm gonna go visit Swede and Max Sauce. Check out Max Sauce on Twitch. And we're just gonna do like a little maybe like a little video podcast of our own.
Okay,
Just for fun.
third
Not really
question,
souls related,
what
just chilling.
is your favorite weapon class from all of Soulsborne?
Ooh,
Weapon
Ultra Greatsword,
class,
100%.
Ultras, okay, do you like Colossals
Han DP.
and ER?
Han DP, bud. Yes, I love Colossals and ER. They're the thing I like about ER2 generally is how they incentivize you to use a weapon's entire moveset situationally. Whereas DS3, the best button 99% of the time is just R1. Like ultras feel I love ultras in PvP and PvE. They're not great for PvP, but they feel great. Like when I did a tournament recently for fun, and so I just rocked up with Corvian, offhand Corvian with main hands Y-hander. It's just satisfying. Just a big, sweaty poise weapon, you know?
Okay. Second last question. Are you that one doctor that does not recommend desired brand, or are you that one of those dentists that are with the others?
I am that doctor. 9 out of 10 dentists think the 10th dentist is a absolute moron.
Okay, and you're the moron, or
No, no.
oh,
I'm part of the sheep.
oh, you're part of the sheep.
I'm
Okay.
pointing the finger.
And last question. When are we expecting your next stream?
Now you're a
That's a good
fully fledged
question. I might
pyromancer.
stream tomorrow, actually, which I don't know. Probably if you're watching this podcast, it's a little bit too late.
Oh,
I
no,
stream
no.
on
This
weekends
this this
typically.
podcast is going out in like the next 2 hours.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I'm gonna be maybe streaming tomorrow. I was debating going for a spa day and a massage because my back is hurting, but I might actually stream some more of my Elden Ring challenge run. I just got Gargoyle Duo last night, so I'm kind of pumped to try it again. I'm on to Godskin Duo right now, rune level 1 plus 0 Zweihander. So
Ooh, are you are
I
you
might
gonna
do
are you gonna
that.
use sleep pots?
No, I don't use items, consumables, buffs, magic, projectiles, no ashes of war, nothing.
No spirit summons?
Nope, no summons, nothing.
Uh,
It's
are
it
you
is
above
absolute
using
torture.
the corner cheese when you get one stuck
I
in the
will
corner
I
and
will
running into the other?
probably cheese. Yeah,
Okay.
I will probably do some, especially what some people would consider cheese. Like for instance, when the Godskin Noble rolls, you can stand on the broken pillar and just swat him, and it'll just keep rolling at you. Stuff like that. And then, but also Sundays are my D&D days, and sometimes I actually stream D&D just for fun.
Okay, perfect. Well, once again, this has been the Red Man Cafe. Thank you, Dr. Lupine, for joining us. And
Absolutely.
anything you want to say to the video watchers at home?
I know. Keep on invading, guys. Invading is like the funnest thing you can do. Please give it a try if you've never considered it. It's so fun. It's one of a kind. There's nothing else like it in the world of gaming. Yeah, it's a great time.
All
Highly
right.
recommend.
Cheers, nerds, and thank you for the watch. And thank you for joining me.
No problem.